Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Super Mario Bros. 3. In the last part, we finished off World 7 before getting into the final world of the game, World 8. And welcome to the hand trap levels. These little 5 panels and the world map, the first, middle, and 5th panels are levels that you can play of your own volition, but whenever you walk over them, there is a around 50% chance that you're just going to get dragged in automatically. So more or less just assume you're going to do them. At the end of each of them, you get some sort of item. Usually, I believe it is just a super leaf. These 3 levels are the bane of speedrunners everywhere, at least for any percent. Any percent, no, wrong warp, at least. As it's like, what, a 50, 25, 12.5% chance of getting through without being grabbed by any of them. And that's unlikely, to put it lightly. Not that the levels themselves are long, but hey, for them, that's every second gained is a... Well, every second lost in their case is a big loss. Especially in a game that's already only about 10 minutes long. I do find this third one funny, though, because it's a funny little revisit to the flying fish concept from Mario 1 that's not really used much here in Mario 3. I've had playthroughs where you get across without hitting any of them. I've had playthroughs where I get through hitting every single one. I, on average, get 1 per just because 50-50s, it's how it tends to be. But now we're on to easily the most dangerous of Bowser's airship levels in the game, Bowser's Direct Air Force. This is a lot of very small platforms you need to jump between at a relatively fast scrolling speed. This, I'd say, is probably the most dangerous airship level in the game because of this alone. If you have a P-Wing, though, it's not going to be a threat, really, at all. I want to say at this point I've used all my P-Wings, but I genuinely cannot remember at this point. If not, I might be saving it for the next level. Well, the next one of these levels, at the least. Because there's only one more of Bowser's military stages after this, and it's closer to the first one we did last part. The weird thing about World 8 is that it's one of the smallest worlds in the game, even counting all the atypical levels as individual levels. I think the only one that's maybe smaller than it in that regard is World 1? The levels are more concentrated in difficulty, yes, as well as having the final Boom-Boom. Well, second last Boom-Boom now I think about it. But if you got some items and you especially got some extra lives, there's not a lot to really fear from this world outside of the length of the levels themselves. And now for one of the weirder moments in the game to me. Once we go through this pipe, we're into another set of the world, where we actually have some normal levels to go through, but it's dark here for no reason that I can tell. Outside of maybe trying to be a maze. And even then, you can come to this area from a couple different points depending on which Bowser military forces you've taken out because the locks unlock. World 8-1, though, is a pretty hectic level. There are a lot of enemies here and at times very cramped spaces that you need to do some pretty tight platforming around. I'd say barring maybe the last airship level as well as the actual final level, this is probably overall the hardest level in the game, just in terms of like going through it, but they also have plentiful of power-ups here. I want to say there's like 3 outright power-up blocks, and I think there's a secret room somewhere with like 3 1-up mushrooms in it. Whoa, I don't know how I didn't get killed there. Sometimes the hitboxes in Mario 3 are very helpful in that they decide to not work correctly. But, like many levels, it is ultimately still pretty short. In fact, even the final levels themselves are pretty short, as you can see by the fact this is the shortest part in the entire LP. And with that, we're already on to World 8-2, which can go 2 different ways. Either you run to the right, getting through a lot of the Venus piranha plants, I believe is what they're called, the ones that rise out and then fire out a fireball. You have to go over an honestly kind of annoying note block platforming section, or you come down to this fake sand trap and enter one of the 2 pipes here. They both lead to the same place ultimately, but what you get in them is what's the difference. Here on the right you get a bunch of coins, and on the left you get a block that contains a super leaf. But they both enter here, exit here rather, and then you only have about one hill left and another platforming jump over a Koopa Troopa as well as some note blocks, and at this point you're home free. That is the last normal level in the game. There's only 2 standard levels here in World 8, which again, kind of weird, but oh well. But it's also time for the final fortress. This level's chaotic not just because it's a lot of cramped spaces with a lot of enemies, and at later points even some lava that's a one-hit kill, of course, but because of all these doors. There are, I want to say, close to 20 doors, period, that you're going to be passing by, and they flip-flop between 2 sides of the room. The blue side and the gray side. You need to figure out the best path through both sides to get to the end, but even then, the end itself is a little bit of a trick, because you remember the P-switch doors I mentioned all the way back in, I want to say it was one of the World 2 fortresses, where if you hit a P-switch, a door can sometimes spawn that's secret. You need to enter a P-switch door in order to actively get to the end of the level. And if you're not careful, you might completely miss it. My best advice is get to the far right end of the gray side however you can, be it just going with the path I did or doing some other path through the doors. Get the Starmen to help avoid whatever enemies you can, especially taking out a Boo and a Thwomp coming up here. And grab the P-switch right here, but don't head back left or that first door, enter the second door just off screen. That first door is there to taunt you. If you enter that, it's a trap that just leads to a single fire flower. Thankfully, I think if you go into that room, you're not entirely screwed, because I think you can go back through the door. You just can't, you know, use the same switch twice from memory. At least I don't think you can. No, actually, no, you can, because it respawns in that one fortress. It's probably entirely for this level now that I think about it. And thus our final Boom Boom. As unremarkable as the first. In that we completely ignored the first. And now not only do we have a shortcut back towards the beginning of the world, but we're able to access this pathway to the final stretch. One last set of tanks before us, and then it's the end game. Yeah, might as well use my P-Wing, so I did have one left. I guess I was saving it for this level. I'm ready for you, tank. I'm gonna get ya. This tank is quite a bit harder than the first one, if only because if you're using a P-Wing, you actually have a ceiling you have to watch out for in some cases, though I think you can fly over that. As well as just the amount of projectiles they're throwing at you. I really feel all of these auto-scrollers that Mario 3 has. There's another reason why I probably am not the most fond of it as I am compared to other games in the series. I'll talk more about that during the credits, as short as they are. But if there's anything I wish they really had in this particular game is at least maybe 1 or 2 more mechanics to them, or at least more hazards, just to vary up the level design a bit more, and that's something that later revisits to airship-like stages would do. Particularly Mario Wii has a few more, like the platforms that move automatically, or the crushing spikes of scariness that they introduced in Mario World that just slam down and can be instant kill. If they had maybe 1 or 2 more things like that, these levels I think would be a lot more interesting. Not that they're inherently bad, but they could have been more. But here we are, let's see what our final challenge before Bowser himself is. Oh, our true final Boom Boom! And thus we have made the species endangered, and we will not see them again until at least the 3DS. I think. I can't remember of another one. But it's time for Bowser himself. And, well, thankfully, I have plenty of hammer suits. Bowser's castle is a bit of a labyrinth in and of itself, in that there's a lot of trick doors you can enter that just take you back here to the entrance after a room with a thwomp in it. What you need to do is rise up this invisible platform, and then eventually get to a room where there's a bunch of donut blocks over lava. By the way, hold right or jump there. And notably, there's a trick you can do coming up there. I try to do a little bit, where you can hit this 1-up block right here, and if you're good enough at controlling, you can squeeze Mario into that 1-tile space and clip through that wall by standing up. But this room right here, either you can take the high path, which will take you into another room that starts with the firing laser Bowser statues that we saw at the very start of the area. Or you can continue through the, if that was the top path there, the second to bottom path where there's another thwomp, and get to another door that takes you to a similar enough pathway. But these both resulted in you getting to the final boss. There's just technically 2 final bosses in the map for this particular level. It's long, and there's a lot that can kill you, but it's not too bad, just like Bowser himself. Bowser's big strat is firing a few fireballs while hopping up and down, and every few moments doing a big jump to try and do a Mario on you, so to speak. Your goal is to either kill him with, I think, Fire Flower or Hammer Suit abilities, or have him jump so many times that he just destroys the floor until it reaches the hole in the bottom, in which case he falls to his death at the bottom of whatever castle depth this thing has. But since I have the Hammer Suit, I'm just gonna go for that route because it's much faster. There we go. Oh! Thank you, but our princess is in another castle. Just kidding. Ha 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 ha. Bye bye. Man, we were already sick of that even back in 1990, huh? But that's Super Mario Bros. 3. It's easily the best Mario game on the NES, but despite its history in the franchise and where it is legacy-wise, there are just better Mario games to play nowadays, I think. Mario World, I think, is a better game, period, which is the big option comparison is these 2 games directly. While Mario World has less environment variety visually in terms of, like, what the worlds look like, I think it just controls more interestingly and does more interesting things with its level and mechanics. And plus the power-ups are much more useful overall because they're nowhere near as limited, albeit they are kind of game-breaking at times. In comparison, this is rather plain to what would become later. I think also Mario U is a better game because it does what Mario 3 does with what Mario World does, combined in a lot of ways I find fun. It's good, and if you want to play it, it's one of the Mario games you can basically find on anything. It's on the Game Boy Advanced, it's on the various virtual consoles that have all basically all shut down except for Nintendo Switch Online. It's on the Wii through a limited run disc of Mario's All-Stars, just on a Wii disc, which was weird, but I own it because of that soundtrack disc. It's a fun game that is worth your time. Ultimately, there's just better Mario games. I love this ending piece, though. In fact, the soundtrack's probably my favorite part of this game overall. Next time we come back for Mario, I honestly don't know what we're gonna do. Because I think at this point, have I done? No, I haven't done Lost Levels yet. So we might do that. We might go over to New Mario DS, maybe for the platformers, but I think the next Mario game I handle, I probably want to finally tackle Partners in Time. It's been a hot minute since we did Superstar Saga, and I kinda need to refresh myself with Partners in Time to do that anyway. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, have a great night, take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.